you join me at the back seat, rather crummy back seat. We're going to be sorting that out though in a sec, because down here I'm going to remove this mat. I'm going to move this seat forward. I'm going to see about fitting an under-seat subwoofer. You can see an unboxing video of this on this channel in the unboxing videos playlist. It is a Kenwood under-seat amplifier, so I'm going to go and get that now. I'm going to apply some Velcro pads to the bottom of it because I don't fancy drilling holes through the floor of the Volvo. And yeah, I'm going to prep that up and get the wiring in and have a look at the best way to fit it and get that installed. So here we are, let's go. Okay, here is the Kenwood under-seat sub. It's only an 8-inch one. I have to be honest, it's a lot smaller and a lot less powerful than what I'm used to, but I usually, in the past, I've gone with component items of a bit higher end performance value, shall we say. But in this particular vehicle, I can't see a very nice place of putting a custom install with the 6th and 7th seats in the back. It just doesn't sort of doesn't have a good place for a good install without pulling all the seats out and doing crazy stuff to the vehicle. Plus, I don't fancy doing a full strip down and a full going over with the old sound deadening, which I have done a few times in the past. Anyway, on the back, as you can see, got the old Velcro. That's all stuck in. Got heavy duty stuff. This is just very tacky on the back, so when I pull that off, that will stick to the carpet. Obviously, with it being carpet, it's not going to stick awesome, so hence use lots of it. I've just been careful to not cover any screw holes up or anything in case it ever needs pulling apart. Still see all my details. I've got my remote bass adjustment plugged in, along with the power and audio cables plug. That's pinned down by this bar, which is strangely loose, even though I tightened those screws down, so I'll just retighten those. And then I've just bundled together all my wires here. Annoyingly, this sub comes with a kit that takes your phono leads for your input and sends it to speaker wire, which then asks you to connect to either the front or rear speakers for a high level input. And just to annoy you more, it uses these bullet connectors. Now, I don't know about you, but I've worked on a few cars and I've never seen any with wires that terminate as bullet connectors near the speakers or at the speakers. They're always spade connectors. Even the old stuff in the 70s and 80s that I've worked on that use stuff like bullet connectors on the loom, like Ford looms and stuff like that, they still use spade connectors on the speakers. So I don't know what's going on there, but it's not very useful because it's not the best way to wire up a sub. The best way to wire up a sub is to supply it with low voltage input, which is via RCA cables, which are dedicated for the subwoofer, coming out of the pre-out at the back of the head unit. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and that is the second option in the instruction book of how to wire this up. And it kindly asks you to purchase your own RCA cable. So it just so happens I have one, but it's part of an amp wiring kit. So I guess I'm going to have to break into that just for some phono leads. Anyway, that can go over there whilst we prep the area. Okay, so there we are, nice and clean. I've pushed the front seat, the driver's seat, all the way forward so we can see what area we've got to work with. I've given this a really good hoover, or vacuum as is politically correct, using a machine that is not made by Hoover. It's a little bit cold and a little bit wet, so I have to squeeze in here. Try not to spend too much time hanging outside the car. So I can now bring the amp into position. Sorry, the sub with its built-in amp into position. I can have a look at which way it's best going to be mounted and which way round to orientate it in order to deliver the wiring to the area it needs to be. So let's have a quick look. So it will fit just like that, obviously the other way up. Just like that. And from there I can run the wiring down this side and over the lower half. This is an air ducting vent that kind of runs alongside the cross member of the floor, and I think through it as well. So the cross member shallows out here and drops right down to be almost flat next to the seat rail, so I can run the wires. If I bundle them up and wrap them in loom tape, run them down the inside of this seat rail to the front, and they will then hug the floor of the car. If I can find any other wiring loom that's pre-existing, I will send it along with that, because I know that that area will be accommodating to some wires running along, so they don't cause a bit of a bulge in the carpet or anything like that. And as the front carpets are out, we can just lay these wherever they want, wherever we think we can get away with having them, without having to sort of lift anything out of the way. They can just be laid really easily, terminated at the other end, connected to where they need to be connected to, and it should be as simple as that. So I'll unclip this wiring harness now. I'll get my phono leads. I will post the wires under the seat, make sure I'm happy with everything. Once I am happy with everything, I'll place the sub down in the position that I want it to be in when it's fitted, but I won't take the backing off the Velcro just yet. I want to make sure it works first before I permanently fix it down. I will be able to lift it once it's down. I just don't want to lift it straight away or anytime soon, because I'd like the adhesive on the back to have time to really get the best hold it can on the carpet fibres before I start pulling it up anytime in the future. When I do pull it up in the future, I'll be very careful to sort of go under with some trim removal tools and just separate the Velcro so that it doesn't accidentally pull it up from the carpet. But I think this will do the job for now, so go and get those bits and carry on. Okay, I've added a bit of light to the situation because it was looking a bit dark down there. Some phono leads. Snip the cable tie that was holding everything together. We'll start to unravel, tidy up, and piece together these bit by bit. Keep them all neat and tidy, send them to the places that they need to be, make sure they're not too tight, that kind of thing. Okay, so that's everything routed through to the front. As you can see, I've just wrapped up the remote power on cable and the main power cable and the earth together so that there's less fuss. What I don't want to do is I don't want to wrap the phono leads to the rest, because you can get quite bad interference and feedback. You give quite an annoying buzzing noise through the sub. You can buy suppressors to stop that, but you do lose some of the signal noise. when you use a suppressor. So just got a few zip ties around the remote cable to the wrapped cable, leading up to the area where it goes under the seat, leaving the funnel cable just away from it a little bit. Don't quite know how close it needs to be to create interference, but I know that when you're doing a full sub and amp install on a car and you're running the wires down the interior sills, it makes a difference if you run the phono cables down one side and the power cables down the other side of the vehicle. It's night and day actually. So there we go, that's the sub in place. I can now bring you to the front. Right, there we are, that's what we've got at the front. I moved the seat back and it was just touching the top of the sub box. So I've just adjusted the seat up a little bit. You can do that on these Volvos by using this lever. If you pull this lever forward, it allows you to tilt back, and if you pull the lever backward, it allows you to tilt forward. So by tilting the seat forward a little bit, locking it in place, and then pushing it the other way, you can tilt the seat back a little bit, and by doing that you can lift it up some. So I think I've lifted it up by about 5 mil, and that's enough just to give me some clearance. So messy footwell, let's get tidying. Just need to run this along with these wires, some cable ties, follow it up underneath the air vent, around the back of the fuse box, and then we can connect to some power wires, switch to ignition, lead some cables through to the back of the stereo area, find somewhere to mount the bass adjustment, and find a good earth point. Easy peasy. There we are. Going straight from under there, going straight up there, behind the back of the fuse box, and loads more stuff to start. At least it's going where it needs to be, so I'll tidy it up now at the other end. Okay, so this is my organised mess. I've got my remote turn on wire and my phono cables just hanging below the heater controls there, coming out from the back, all nicely routed and secured down. I've got my remote bass control cable just hanging up there. I think I'm going to try and put that in the cubby hole just underneath the radio. Then I've got my earth cable just down there. You can just see the fork on it. That's going to be slid into these 2 spade connectors and crimped together and then taped up. That leads to an earth terminal on the back of the fuse box. That is a very tight fit, I've already checked, so that's going to be secure enough. I'm just trying to find a constant power feed now for the little bullet connector down there. So I'm going to put a female bullet on that, and out the back of that is going to be a little bit of cable with a female spade. And if you can see in there on the back of the board, a number 6, that refers to the number 6 fuse position. Let's see if we can just get a flash. There we are, number 6 fuse position, and down the middle of that white plastic tower there you can just see a nice shiny orange copper male spade terminal. Now that, if you can see next to it, has 3 other spade terminals. That is a constant power 12 volts. The ignition is currently off. And I have a negative probe in an earthing point. I have my multimeter switched on, showing a few millivolts. And if we probe this inside there, we get 14.7 volts. That's currently because the car's charging, the battery's charging. So that's all well and good, but we need it to be unfused because we have our own fuse in line. Which is here. So what we need to do is double check that that is a fused, an unfused supply. So if we turn this over, check fuse number 6, that's a 30 amp there. Take the fuse out, turn it back over, make sure the negative probe's still in, get our probe again, probe that number 6 pin again, and as you can see, we've still got the full voltage with no fuse in. So that's an unfused feed. Obviously the other side of that, those are the 3 terminals, would be the other side of the fuse. So this is the side that we want to take power from. So I'm going to link that into there. I'm going to link my my earth cable up, and that will be all we can do for now until we get the stereo fitted, which will be the next step.